Like many people, I like a rare car. But the trouble with rare cars is that often they become not particularly rare because they're rare cars and then people hang on to them. What I really like is a rare car that you don't even realise is a rare car. And here we have such an example. Behind me is a Rover 200, an R3, and you might be thinking, well hang on, that's not that rare actually, there's still a few of those knocking about. And in particular, there's loads of 25s knocking about, which was the car that kind of was the facelift of it essentially. True. But in front of me isn't any old Rover 200. No, it's a 218. And if I'm completely honest, I didn't even know there was such a thing. If my knowledge of these cars was as extensive as what some people think it is, I would have known. Consider this. Models available on the R3, the 211, which was an 1100, the 214, which was a 1400, and the 216, which was a 1600. And then there was the VI at this point, which was an 1800 with the variable valve timing thing. Yeah, that's quite a rare car, but actually this is just the 218, so it doesn't have variable valve timing, it just has a 1.8 twin cam engine with about 118 brake horsepower. And that does not sound like loads. It doesn't sound like loads because, well, it isn't, is it really? Certainly not by today's standards, but at the time it was definitely enough to make a small car like this go really rather well indeed. This car was also made just before the BRM, which was, of course, a car that was this kind of colour with that strange grille, that strange snout. That thing that made it look a bit stupid, to be honest. Not a BRM, not a BRM, not a BRM, not a BRM. But I think that this, with its colour, is lucky that it didn't end up being a BRM wannabe, because it's got everything else it would need. Well, almost. I mean, that would have to be silver. The mirror caps would have to be silver. And the interior would have to be different. But look at this interior. What lovely seats. What lovely material. This is a nice car. This has got loads of potential. The early K series was actually a better engine as well for just a couple of reasons, but I'm not going to go too far into that because it's kind of, I don't want to do politics on this particularly. I don't start talking about as many will know, Rover built nice cars, and what happened was the quality started to go downhill with new ownership. Quite a long way. So this is a much nicer put together car than what they did afterwards, the 25. The only exception really with build quality was the door cards, because these are actually made of cardboard rather than plastic, and they do fall apart. But as you can see in this one, yes, well, that's what happens. You see, the cardboard gets damp, it starts to crumble, and then before you know it, it really isn't very nice at all, which is a pity, because the dashboard is nicer than what they replaced it with. This is a soft feel. Actually, they did have this dash in the very early 25s, and they had that little wood strip there. And before you say, well, that's just a piece of plastic, well, look. It's not plastic, it's metal with a wood veneer. So it's actually wood, proper wood. I mean, it's not like having a slab of wood, is it? But why would that be necessary? Wood veneer is fine. That's how they used to do these things, properly. Of course, the rest of it's proper as well. The seats had proper cushioning that didn't fall apart. The carpets were made of carpets. And the headlining, of course, well, I mean, that's just what they do. There's no evidence of that sunroof leaking though. And on this model, we have a leather covered steering wheel and a leather covered gear knob as well. Nice touches. And it doesn't stop there, because the door shut sounds are much nicer than the later models. Now, it doesn't have massive brakes on it, but it does have discs on the back as well. The Rover 25, in particularly the later models had some issues with panel gaps. But the earlier models, I think what they did is they put the panels on and then the engineers tweaked them. The assembly workers tweaked them. Yeah, I mean, it's nothing like a Lexus or anything like that, but the panel gaps are quite consistent. Under the bonnet, we of course find, Wilma, come away from that. Under the bonnet, we of course find the 1.8 K series engine without the restricted throttle body, of course. An undercover bonnet, yeah, to stop all the noises from coming through. A good sized battery and a jocking big ABS unit. That is really big, isn't it? Yeah, it is. But also, look, no coil packs, no, a dizzy indeed. It's really not very often when you open up a bonnet of a car and find a dizzy cap, is it? Surprisingly clean engine, actually. Normally a K series will have some sort of oil spillage down the rocker cover, going down there and then burning itself into a horrible smelly oblivion on the manifold. Another thing I've just noticed, actually, heated washer jets. That's something they definitely did away with. You'll notice that this car isn't exactly precious though. It's got scuffs on it, wheels need refurbing. I mean, it's a solid tub and all that, but it's not the most glamorous looking model, especially when you start looking at the roof. Look at the roof. I mean, it's a bit faded, isn't it? Looks like it's fallen asleep under the sunbed. I like this car. I like this. This car suits me. I'd like this car. If this car was available for sale, I'd like it. Not that I need it, but I like it. I just like it. I like the fact that it's really rare and kind of under the radar rare. Under the radar rare. Under the radar rare. Ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Where? The missing badge makes it look like a silenced but surprised robot. Allegro man, fancy seeing you here.
Fancy seeing you here, and actually in Milnrow.
Yeah, don't tell me this car's for sale.
No, actually, this is very different actually, as in, I've brought a car down to see you when I first got it, when I haven't actually done anything with it.
Yeah, well,
because
no one's going to have recognised it as one of your cars so far, are they?
No, but because of what this is, just needs a little bit of a different approach and the timing of how it's coming.
Of all the cars I could just be having a go in right now, this is one so familiar. That door card's actually quite distracting. It's like eating a steak that's got the consistency of a shredded wheat. But yes, always great to be back in one of these. And it, well, the mileage, oh gosh, 31,000, no, nearly 32,000 miles. That's not much at all, is it?
No. Have you seen how clean that gear gator and that leather knob is?
Yeah.
That is just...
The steering's a bit different to the 25 though.
Right.
Have you noticed? It doesn't have quite the quick feel of the 25. Because that is one thing that they did. Actually, as said, there's only one thing they improved on the 25, and that was the steering and the door cards.
Right.
The rest of it, this is a better
car.
I
suppose we haven't really seen 3-door 25s with collapsed door cards, have we?
Well, no, you won't do.
But we have seen quite a few of these like that.
And it's an eager little bunny as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. You don't really get quite the same sensation of its eagerness whilst you're in the passenger seats, especially when you're filming, because you're concentrating on that. But then put my foot down ever so slightly here, and I'll tell you whether I like it or not. Well, I do like it, obviously I do. You don't have to rev it either, because it's got low down torque. Do you know how many torques this car has?
No.
I don't either.
No.
I'd have to go looking it up, and I don't really want to do that. But I can assure you that it's a lot more, because the 1.8 on paper doesn't look like it's that much more impressive than the 1.4, does it?
No. On paper, if you just start saying brake horsepower figures,
Well, the 1.4 with 103 or 104, the 1.6 with about 109, and then this with 118. You wouldn't think there'd be that much difference, but it is just down to the torque and the ready to go right from the off, which, mind you, the 1.6 is good. This is bringing to me a joy of driving that I've kind of forgotten about. That's one of the downsides of being a Peugeot driver. Well, actually, I mean that in jest, of course, but now, because that car handles really well, but it's just that character of a car like this that you can't quite put your finger on is here. It's really, really here in this, and it's just, it just makes you smile to drive it. That's really it.
Yeah.
You can't not be a bit happy whilst driving it.
I think it's allowing myself and Paul Roverman to still have a little bit of hooligan in us. Me approaching 50 and him just over it, we're still managing to be hooligans.
Well, I wouldn't say a hooligan, but
no. All right.
It's a joy of driving.
Yeah.
You just don't get in many cars.
Yeah.
It just really comes together nicely. You have to drive it to get it. You know, because they're a cute car. They're obviously, you know, quite simple. They're economical. They're easy to mend if they need mending. But it's the actual driving experience that really does it. And that's why so many people who have never had a Rover before end up buying one by accident as a stopgap, and then wanting to keep it. I've known that so many times. It's because of the way things like this drive.
Yeah.
And I always think that as punchy and as impressive the diesel can be in one of these, you just lose some of that driving characteristic that makes it so joyous.
Yeah.
There are cars that are much safer. There are cars that are quicker, better built. Well, every box that could be ticked. There are cars that do it better, except for that one thing, which is just how happy it makes you feel to drive. And being happy is important.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're already happy, you don't need to drive like a lunatic.
Correct.
You've got nothing to prove.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, but I think that's why a lot of the fast BMW and Audis are driven like utter because the people in there driving them are bored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brakes aren't particularly sharp, though, are they? No doubt this car will be coming back once it's finished, because at some point then you're going to say, right, I want to sell it now. Can we do video 2?
Yeah, I guess I've never really done things that way around, but
No.
as I say, this is just A, so I get the door card requesting, and B, just sort of letting people know the nature of how it's come about. And
I think you're being very smart, because there's going to be somebody watching this that's going to go, oh, let me know when you've finished it.
Well, if anyone wants to place an order, you know where I am, please get in touch.
Yeah, but this is the first time that we've had a car on the go here without any indication of what the price might be once it's finished. What a fantastic end to a video of having you as a surprise guest, because I don't think anyone would have guessed this at all. Nobody could have seen it coming. The Allegro man in a car that hasn't even been washed.
Yes.
Look at his jumper.
Yeah.
That's a work jumper, that is.
Yep, yep. I've turned up while I've been on a busy day's work.
Yeah. Good for you, mate. So what's going to happen with this car then?
Well, I picked it up on sometime just at the beginning of the month, and it's MOT'd until round about January. So it's a running concern, and it doesn't need...
He's not going to stop, is he?
Go
Oh,
on
yes.
then, thank you.
In one way, this car actually suits you, because you need a daily car, and this is a kind of car that you can bung stuff in without worrying about it getting dirty, and drive it quickly.
Yeah.
And spin the front wheels on the roundabout. This doesn't have, because this isn't a BRM or a VI, it doesn't have that trick diff, does it not?
No.
It's just like a normal 200, isn't it?
Yeah,
What's that?
What's that? A motorbike with a box on the back. Right.
Go on, continue your story.
Yeah, so it's MOT till round about January. It's only done 31,000 miles. It's basically, it was all on the road. So picked it up at the beginning of this month, had to tax it to get it back from where I got it. And this month, for the rest of it, I'm just enjoying it a bit. But one thing that I'm going to need for this car to do it is a door card.
Yes.
So part of the reason, probably the main part of the reason for coming and doing this video is that is going to be the hardest part to get hold of. So please, viewers, if anybody knows of a door card that, great if it's the electric window one as well, where it doesn't have the hole in, that'd be fantastic. Even if you know of one that does have the hole in, I'd consider it. So if anyone knows of a door card to help this car out as I start to do it, please get in touch.
Gosh. A big man.
A beg? Well, yeah, that's a good way of putting it, yeah.
Have you got anything else to say?
Well, what it wants is
The door card.
the door card,
Yep.
and then its bodywork is mainly on the driver's side.
It's just unusual, really, for you to bring a car down that you're not trying to flog.
Yeah, I know. But basically, its bodywork, it needs a wing, which I've already purchased. I've purchased a wing for it already. So it needs a wing. It wants the roof spraying, the boot, and that side. And that generally is what it needs. So this doesn't need my input as much as it needs the body shop's input. So unfortunately though, at the moment, it's kind of come up at a point where other things are on the go. There's another MG ZT on the go. There's a GTI on the go. There's a couple of another Rover 75 turbos that are going to be up for sale next week. But this has kind of come up at a point where you feel like you're full and money's committed to those other things that are going on. So to get this one a bit underway a bit quicker, the last video we did with the 75 V6 does, obviously Paul Roverman can throw a viewing of the
Oh, right,
last
thanks.
video, can't you? You can
Thanks for that.
you can find a snippet of that, can't you?
Oh, yeah. I've got nothing else to do.
Well, basically, what I'm saying is, because of this arriving, I'm gonna go home. To help this one out, I'm gonna reduce that one. I'm gonna put that one down to something like 1095.
Wow.
So basically, it's available for around £1,000. And then that might mean that I can throw the wing and the car at the body shop people, and this one can get underway. Because I think with this car's rarity, it's worthwhile doing.
Interesting. You're not going to kick me out?
Oh yeah,
I was trying to think of something obnoxious to say to you so you could insist I get out of the car.
I'll tell you what, just get the out of here.